The Warriors are still standing. After a grueling 7-game war with the Rockets, they're limping but alive. And waiting for them is a team that's younger, deeper, healthy, and hungry. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves aren't just trying to win, they're trying to prove something. To the league, to the world, to themselves. This isn't just a playoff series, it's a statement series. 2 different timelines, 2 different styles. 1 shot at the Western Conference Finals. Before the ball tips, here's everything you need to know. The battle lines are drawn. This matchup isn't your typical clash of eras. It's the Warriors, a dynasty trying to stretch the clock a little longer, versus the Timberwolves, a rising power looking to knock the Kings off the hill. Golden State barely escaped Houston, surviving thanks to flashes of brilliance from Steph and a grind-it-out mentality that kept them afloat even when the offense stalled. But that 7-game series came at a price. Steph's been dealing with a sore knee. Jimmy Butler took a nasty fall in Game 6, and Draymond's logging heavy minutes like it's 2018 again. Meanwhile, Minnesota cruised through the first round in 5 games. Their defense looked airtight. Ant looked like a superstar. And everyone on their roster, from their starters to their bench pieces, looked fresh. They've had time to rest, time to scout, and time to prepare specifically for the Warriors. Which means this isn't going to be a series of improvisation. It's going to be a series of execution. So what exactly are we watching for? First and always, it starts with Steph. Slowing him down is never about stopping him. It's about surviving the runs, limiting the damage, and forcing Golden State to beat you with someone else. The Rockets showed a glimpse of how to do it. Pick him up full court, fight through every screen, switch smart, and bring aggressive help when necessary. That blueprint now falls into the hands of Minnesota's best defender, Jaden McDaniels. He's taller, longer, and more disciplined than almost any perimeter defender left in the playoffs. He might not mirror Steph's quickness, but his wingspan and timing let him recover when most defenders would be toast. Still, nobody guards Steph alone. The Wolves will need to lean on their versatile wings, Conley, Edwards, Alexander Walker, to keep up with Golden State's constant motion. And here's where things get tricky. All it takes is one slip, one lazy switch, one mistimed help, and Steph's pulling from 30. That's the constant pressure he applies. You can defend perfectly for 20 seconds and still lose the possession in 1 second of daylight. That's why the big question becomes, what does Minnesota do with Rudy Gobert? Against a team like Golden State, the big man's size can be a blessing or a curse. If he's asked to guard in space, you run the risk of exposing his lateral movement. But if he's planted near the rim, protecting the paint, suddenly the Warriors' cutting game gets much harder. The Wolves have experimented with both. They can have Rudy hedge high and rotate behind him, or they can go into drop coverage and live with contested floaters. But the real X factor is what happens when the Warriors go small. Golden State's secret weapon isn't just Steph, it's their lineup flexibility. Draymond at the 5, Jimmy roaming as a point forward. Lineups with 4 ball handlers and 1 screener, constantly flipping the angle and tempo of the game. And if Gobert gets played off the floor, whether by switches or spacing, that opens up everything. That's when Steph's off-ball game becomes deadly again. That's when you see those back cuts, those relocation threes, those chaotic sequences where defenders are just trying to breathe. But this version of the Warriors isn't invincible. In fact, they've got some clear flaws. The spacing isn't what it once was. Draymond, Looney, GP2, even Jimmy at times, they aren't consistent shooters. That allows defenders to sag, to help, to crowd Steph without major consequences. That's why Golden State needs guys like Buddy Hield, Moody, and Piemski to make shots. They're not just supporting pieces, they're spacing lifelines. If those guys hit at a high clip, the Wolves can't collapse the floor. If they don't, then Steph's life gets harder, the drive-in lanes vanish, and the Wolves can bait them into one-on-one play. And if this series becomes about one-on-one scoring, Minnesota's advantage grows, because that's where Anthony Edwards comes in. Ant isn't just rising, he's erupting. His game is smoother, his decision-making sharper, and his jumper more confident. He doesn't need a screen to get downhill. He doesn't need a mismatch to find his rhythm. He creates his own looks and finishes them at all three levels. If the Warriors switch, he attacks. If they hedge, he splits. If they drop, he pulls. And if you overplay him to take away the drive, he kicks it to one of the NBA's most efficient three-point shooting teams. This is where things could unravel for Golden State. The Rockets didn't have the shooting to punish the Warriors for overhelping. The Wolves do. Between McDaniels, Conley, Reed, and Ant himself, Minnesota can space the floor and force you into impossible choices. Overload one side, and they'll swing it for a wide-open three. Stay home, and Ant's going downhill. Put a big on him, and he's blowing by. Put a small on him, and he's taking it to the post. There's one possible counter, and that's to pressure him early. The Warriors could throw GP2 or Moody at him, pick him up full court, and make every dribble a battle. They could fight through screens, show help early, and hope Ant settles for mid-range jumpers. But even then, if Ant gets going, he draws help, and that's when Julius Randle becomes a problem. Randle's been a bruiser all season. He's been punishing mismatches, crashing the glass, and powering through defenders for tough finishes. But against the Warriors, his matchup might be Draymond Green, and that's a different beast. Draymond knows his tricks. He knows the angles. He knows how to pull the chair, how to wall up without fouling, how to bait offensive fouls in the post. If Draymond neutralizes Randle, it could swing the series. But if Randle finds success, especially drawing help, that opens up the floor even more for Minnesota's shooters. And we haven't even talked about Nas Reed yet, the ultimate wild card, a big who shoots like a guard, drives like a forward, and brings instant offense off the bench. If Rudy struggles to stay on the floor, Reed slides in and keeps the paint open while stretching the defense with his shooting. He's a matchup nightmare, too quick for centers, too strong for wings. If he finds rhythm, Golden State's defense could be in scramble mode all night. This is why the margin for error is razor thin. Every possession matters. Every switch has to be precise. Every closeout has to be smart. Because both of these teams know this isn't just about advancing. It's about survival. For the Warriors, it's about holding on to greatness just a little longer. For the Wolves, it's about kicking the door down and showing the world they've arrived.